painted rocks different colors and hid them out in the desert on hills, and they had like a flag, different flags on each hill, and we had to go out. That was the target. We had to go out remote view and find the gold colored rock and see. And so it did work. It worked. This worked. And then they did the oxygen tent where they would lower oxygen, and we got near death, and they would get a bell would ring. There was just a regular bell, like a room service bell, ding. And then they would give us oxygen and wake back up again. And it went on for hours until we eventually spoke as an adult. I remember saying, "Hey, let this kid die." That a voice came through me and said, "Let this kid die. Either let him die or get him out." Like, and the lights flickered, and they said, they got excited, "Doctor, we've got one." And so that was what it was, and that was the beginning of that entire program, of that technology. And like I said, I researched what I remember, so I don't remember it from then, but from research I found that there's a version of ketamine that they were using in Vietnam for field operations. So it worked in the field, that they didn't need an anesthesiologist. They were using ketamine to put soldiers under, and then they could operate on them like in the jungle right on the spot in combat. And what happened, it was documented, and the CIA ran with this info, but the soldiers were telling accurate predictions of the next day of the battle, what was going to happen. When they were put under with this drug and near death, the soldiers were channeling and telling what was going to happen the next day. So they made note of it and quickly made it illegal. Sorry, I got a train in the background. I live in town.
It's only coming through slightly. You're doing okay. Great. Yes.
What another thing that I wanted to say was the ketamine from that when they drugged us. There was another thing that I thought was relevant, but now the train interrupted. So sorry. I lost my train of thought.
They were doing some pretty awful stuff there with the kids. I mean, sleep deprivation.
Awful. There was abuse. We had broken bones. There were girls that were being raped. It was bad. I mean, this is Heath and the doctor whom I've been accused of having Stockholm syndrome. Okay. So I've been accused of being sympathetic to them, and I don't see them as he thought that we were clones, that we were going to live a short time, that it was a freebie. Like he still, I'm sure, wrestled with his moral conscience, but he was a scientist and he was there for the science of it. He was obeying a cookbook. He had a stack of books that told him specifically, step by step, what he was doing. It was his first time administering this program to children because he was the remote view expert. And he was looking at it completely scientifically. And I know that towards the end of the program, he was not himself. So he was a human, albeit a non-perfect one. People do bad things to each other. It's no mystery. It's not news. Some people are evil. Some people can't be helped because their soul is just got from a bad place, or they're hurt people. Some people are just so damaged that it's gonna take a lifetime to sort out. But everybody does bad things for some reasons sooner or later, and it doesn't mean that they're evil, right? So I think a lot of it is based on perspective. The cat's evil to the mouse, the dog's evil to the cat, that kind of thing. Anyhow, this guy was very mistaken, and that program was something that he was in way over his head with it. I'm not making an excuse for him, but I'm saying that this is the kind of stuff that was pioneered in the war era, World War II era, and that they've been working on mind control for a very long time. And there's mass mind control. Like, we're all influenced. You can see it happen. Like we're under influence from the media and everything. There's a lot of mind control going on out there, and it's no coincidence that I can put on the TV right now. And this is a rant. Forgive me for this rant, but it's no coincidence that you can put on the TV and you can flip through channels, and it'll take you a very long time to find two people falling in love, but it'll take you a very short time to find two people killing each other. Mm-hmm. There's violence in TV, and the reason is because it shocks your brain and it makes you acceptant to suggestion, for one. For two, watching violence constantly makes people feel helpless. It makes you feel helpless in your own life. That's the psychological side effect from it. If you watch violence all the time, you feel helpless because you're in a fight or flight mode subconsciously the whole time. And so they bombard it with us. They bombard us with that so that people are held down. How many people can't move out of their basement? You know what I'm saying? Like from mom and dad, like we're seeing it. Boys used to move out at a younger age. They don't now because they're watching the violence and they feel helpless in their surroundings. So it's a programming. It's working. We are programmed. We're programmed left and right. And what I found, because the reason I'm saying this is because I researched it. I had those memories of going through the programming and I began to research it heavily. The subliminal programming that we get doesn't work if you're aware. If you're aware of it, it doesn't work. But most people are not aware that they're being programmed. So it's hook, line, and sinker. Anyhow, that's the end of politics for tonight for us.
Well, and here's the thing, as you talk about this researcher scientist who is hurting the children and abusing them, and it's true. There are a lot of people in these projects that have gotten in over their heads. And I know people that have done awful things in projects in alternate personalities that their presenters have absolutely no agreement with the kind of obscene things, awful things they've done in their alternate personalities. One of the biggest challenges in helping people that have come from a background of severe satanic ritual abuse is not helping them to understand the memories they repressed about their own abuse. But sometimes it's even harder to get to the memories of where they were the abuser of others. And I tell people all the time, this is the higher perspective that I lean into. I said, Jesus loves the victim and the abuser at the same time. And so, we really do have to work past some of these things, but I'm not here to talk about me and this stuff. I want to get back to this story because you're here at Inyokern and it's awful, but that's not where it ends, because after you get done and you pass, they say, all right, you're moving on. Then they send you to this house that you remember. In your physical body that I'm talking to, you were never there, but you got the memories. And what happened the first time they sent you to this house?
It's tough to talk about sometimes, but they sent me there, and a big house on a private house on an island near Seattle. They were very wealthy. Maybe we could talk. I'll tell you some stuff off air.
Just talk about what you're comfortable with. High level.
I waited. I was the first one there, and they kept me in a dog kennel in a cage. And then she left for the day and came back late at night. And there were two more adults with her, a man and a woman, and two other children. And the following day, they were having satanic rituals, and I witnessed, I witnessed a murder there. And so it was and then it was all in ritual form. And I think I described it pretty well in the book. I don't know. I haven't read that part. I wrote it years ago when I first, I wrote this chapter in 2016, 2017, and it got edited. And it's something that I don't I don't stomach well. That being said, that was the first time that they privately tested us kids. So they gave us all the IV and they gave us that drug, three of us. It was myself and another boy and another girl and a girl. And they put us on tables and laid us out, and we had our IV, and after their little sacrifice ritual where they were dressed up in costumes and naked. And then they put us under, and they gave us, and so they were using us for information, they were using us to get information in their life to get ahead. These are corporate people. This is somebody that's very influential. He was a billionaire actually, and has since died. But that's what they did. And then the next morning they shipped us all out to our respective places. I never saw the boy or girl again. And I went on a private plane to Peru. Actually, it wasn't the next morning, but it was soon after. And there were other rituals that they did. And it was a big thing for them to say that you had to give your identity to them. You had to agree, like you had to go along with it, kind of thing. And it wasn't until I came back to after Peru, after I lost the ability, I went back to that house. It had been remodeled downstairs, and there were other boys living there, and that was a whole nother version of torture there. But I lived there a couple of years from the age of 13, going on 13 till 15, 13 to 16, like those years. I came back there and lived, and I witnessed some things then too. But I just don't know how graphic you want to get on there. That's all. That's I'm kind of biting my tongue here because I just don't know.
You don't have to. And let me tell you something, Tony. This on this podcast, my podcast, right? I go there. I've been going there for years. In fact, my audience is now on the edge of their seat, like, Dan Duval, stop him from biting his tongue, please. Like I could, we can go there. I see that as my job, right?
Sure.
There's a lot of folks that I think get into this because they are very interested in just having their own curiosities kind of, nourished or whatever you want to call it. But I'm here, one, because I'm advocating for others, and your details are someone else's key. That's the truth. That's what I found over the years of doing this podcast. Actually, it's in the finer points where other folks find what they've been looking for. And it's like, that's the key I've been missing. And we watch people then connect with breakthrough and all kinds of that's what we're about. But yeah, you can go as far as you know, and there were parties that was a big part of your book. So what went on?
So before I went to Peru, I just want to say this. So this is an important distinction to make.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously these people were so what I learned was they were not just making this up. This was something that had been going on. This was a culture that had it down to a science. Everything that they were doing, trafficking the kids, drugging people, doing the sex parties, the rituals, the murders, everything was absolutely down to a science. They had no fear of the law. They had no fear. They weren't stressed out. You would think that people committing these crimes would have stress. They had zero stress because this was a way of life for them, and it's been good. So that I conclude that they grew up in the same culture and that it's been going on for a very long time. So that being said, there was a ritual that they did that was less of a religious type of thing, but more of a scientific thing, where I believe they were trying to get us kids. They used us children, and then they wanted to channel some other entity through us to get, and they kept calling it master, and like it was some entity they regarded as higher than them, but it wasn't a god or an angel or something. It was another person or an ET, or I don't know what it was, to be honest with you, but it was something that was very, very malevolent. They were trying. There was a ritual, and they gave us a flower that they crushed up mortar and pestle style, and put it with wine and made us drink it. And it only lasted like 10 or 15 minutes, the effect. And then they, like in church, the big incense burners that they have on the chain, they swing and it makes the big clouds. They had those, two or three of them. Maybe it was one, I don't remember exactly, but it was a couple of them, and they made a big cloud of incense above us, and they were chanting around us. And I swear when I looked up, so the girl and the boy and myself, we had the same hallucination. Like it was the same. So we looked up into the smoke that was above us where they were blowing the incense smoke, and we could see a being looking down at us. We call him the glass man. He looked like he was made out of green glass. And the boy said something to him and scared him off. There was like a crazy, like it's in the book kind of thing. The difficult stuff to talk about. That's why it's a luxury for me to say it's in the book, man. But he went away and they didn't get what they wanted. So that being got mad that we were the kids chosen. And the boy was, I'm here for you. The boy said, this is the reason I'm alive.